how do I say it? Like, it's just unfair. It's unfair. I mean, there's no other way around it. Like, as a woman, like, you're expected to be able to do all these things and you should go shoot your own video and all of that, which you're totally capable of doing. Like, don't ever let anyone say that you're not. But then to also be expected to live up to these unrealistic beauty standards. Like, I'm sorry, everybody sweats when it's 90 degrees and you're carrying 30 pounds of gear.
Babes over barriers.
The babes over barriers.
We got this.
Welcome back to the Babes Over Barriers podcast, where we talk all things women have to face as barriers. And it's where we get really honest and vulnerable about all the things that matter to us. Today, I have an awesome guest and my coworker, Miss Abbie Burke. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So she is an award-winning morning news anchor at Fox 21 News in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I have the honor of working with her, and I look up to you.
Oh, you're too kind.
You worked at the station since you were an intern.
Yes. Yeah, I've done it all. I started as an intern, and then my first official paid job was actually a freelance editor for the station.
Oh, freelance.
Because they lost some people and just needed someone to kind of fill in. And so I would come in on the weekends and edit the show. So edit all the video for the show. And then...
And were you a college student at the time? Or
no, this was post-college. This was after my internship.
Okay.
And then from there, they started the new 6:30 show at the time. I've added several more shows, but I was the first producer for the 6:30 show.
Oh.
And then they kind of let me do some reporting on the side, I guess. And so worked on my reporting skills then. And then eventually, when a reporter job opened up, I moved into a reporter. And then I moved to weekend anchor and in the evening. Mm-hmm. And then I moved to, we had a 5 p.m. anchor who was different than the 9 p.m. anchor. And then I would report for the 9 and 10.
Oh.
And then from there, I left and went to a station in Rhode Island and was reporting there. And then the morning anchor job opened up here, which was always a dream of mine to work in. And so here I am.
Yeah.
3 or 4 years later now. I guess it's been 3 years.
It's crazy and funny to me that being a morning anchor is a dream of yours because, I mean, one, it's that's prime time, right? But you also have to wake up at crazy hours.
So my only complaint about the job is the hours. Like, it is rough, and I am a natural night owl. So for me, I would always stay up until 2 a.m. and now I'm getting up at 2 a.m. So it was very different. The shift was very hard, but I just love the freedom that the morning show gives you and the ability to have a personality and just be yourself. I mean, in evening news, you get that somewhat, but you're just much more limited with time and it's a much more serious tone. Yeah. And in the morning, you just get to have fun and be yourself. And especially with the coworkers that I have, like we're all just very real, so down to earth people. And so I just love that we just get to have fun and just goof off, basically.
Yeah. Actually, not many local stations are as fluid and as like bantery and fun as you guys are, so that's part of the reason why I wanted to join you guys' team.
I think we got very lucky. I think that that's not a show that we put on for the newscast. Like, we all genuinely get along and like each other, and we've learned each other's quirks and ticks, and like I know what bothers them and how to push their buttons, and they know how to do the same, and we're just all very comfortable with each other, and I think that shows, and I think people appreciate it, and we act like a big family, and hopefully the viewers at home feel like they're part of the family.
I think they do.
I hope so.
A lot of like good social media and sometimes emails.
Yeah. I mean, we have had people come up to us before and say like, you're our family, and like that's exactly what we're going for. So
yeah, I love that. I don't like hard, like, I mean, I do, but also like
To me,
relatable.
I was gonna say, to me, it's more just about being real. Like, we can share hard news, but like we don't use the fake anchor voice, and like it's just that's just not us. And I think people,
Anchorman.
especially these days, like they want real, and so when you're putting on a persona, people can see right through it.
Yeah,
And so we
exactly.
just don't.
Exactly. So we really wanted to talk about things that go on in the industry.
Yeah.
Even though some people may not think that news is entertainment, it is, right? And especially you've been in the industry on camera for quite a while now, right? How long has it been?
It's been 12 years.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, over 10.
Holy
so,
cow.
Yeah.
Good for you. It's tough. I feel like a lot of people move out of this industry kind of once they feel the limelight, and then they're like, man, no. 'Cause it's a lot of pressure.
I think a lot of people don't. I mean, from what I've seen, most people last 3 years or less in this industry. And it's like
on camera or also behind camera? Like producing.
Yeah, I'm thinking more so on camera. But some behind the scenes too. I mean, it is not the glamorous job that people think.
It's not.
It's hard work. It's low paying, especially to start. The hours are always tough, and it never stops. So you're always going to have to work holidays and weekends and crazy hours. And like, that's just part of the gig. And like, that part gets really old fast if it's not something that you love to do.
Yeah. And the learning curve when you first start up, because I just had my first reporter job 2 years ago, 2.5 now, and I was also a bureau reporter, which means that I'm literally by myself all the time.
The expectations on young journalists are kind of ridiculous, in my opinion. I mean, like, you are asked to do so much, and the work of literally 3 to 4 people and on a deadline every single day. Like, it's a lot to take on. It's high stress. It's, you know, it's tough. And like, I think if you can survive it, like, to me, you can survive anything. Like, there were things that I was asked to, because I was an MMJ too, so multimedia journalist.
Yes,
so like,
thank you.
You're basically, you do everything, like you said, and you're on your own. And so I would be asked to like go knock on doors of people who were accused of horrible things, and I'm by myself, and I'm, you know, 23 years old, you know, and it's like, you just suck it up and you do it. And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. Like, there's a lot of opinions about that out there. But I mean, when I was in college, I used to hate calling, like, to order a pizza. I hated talking to people on the phone. And it's like, now I'm knocking on doors of accused, like, people who are accused of doing horrible things. And it's like, wow, like, I am a lot tougher than I thought, and I'm capable of more things than I thought. So to me, when I look back, if nothing else, like, even if I don't stay in this career, like, it made me tough.
Oh, yeah. And beautiful.
Oh, my thanks.
But honestly, you have to do all this stuff as a journalist. And then as a girl, you also have to look pretty on camera.
That is like the totally unfair thing. And you're expected to like do it in heels and a dress. And I remember one time I was sent out on a story, like, there was a bear in a tree. And of course, it was a day that I thought I was going to be anchoring. So I was wearing like a skirt and high heels, and I total noob mistake, like, didn't have my go bag, which has like all your extra clothes and sneakers and everything. And I went out the door with all of my gear in this outfit, and I'm like trying to hike up a mountain in high heels, like sinking into the mud as I go, and just being like, this is miserable. Like, what am I doing? But yeah, that part. Or like, you get all sweaty because you're carrying your gear, and then they're like, okay, we need you live in the 5 o'clock. And it's like, I'm supposed to look good after doing this.
Well, so for me, in the beginning, when I just started as a reporter, I wanted to look good on camera, because that's kind of why you go into it a little bit as a girl, at least for me. And I would get sent to all these like live shots and stuff, and I was in Nebraska, so we'd be sent to like farms and like rodeo shows, or like where it's really dirty and stuff. And I would first be like, I have to look good. So I would wear these high heels and go to these live shots and these stories and stand there in the middle of all this gross stuff and walk with this giant bag of gear in my high heels.
Right.
Like, I'm sweating balls and I have to go live and I'm like checking myself while there's a bunch of people around me.
Yes.
Very
the struggle is real. Yeah.
I was very vain and struggled through the vanity. But then at one point I was just like, you know what? It's not worth it. No, it's not.
And you start wearing sneakers and whatever else. But yeah, it's a hard double standard to live up to.
Yeah, let's talk about that double standard.
So I think, it's how do I say it? Like, it's just unfair. It's unfair. I mean, there's no other way around it. Like, as a woman, like, you're expected to be able to do all these things and you should go shoot your own video and all of that, which you're totally capable of doing. Like, don't ever let anyone say that you're not. But then to also be expected to live up to these unrealistic beauty standards. Like, I'm sorry, everybody sweats when it's 90 degrees and you're carrying 30 pounds of gear. Like, you have to be able to, like, give them some grace. But it's like the second that a female's hair is out of place or she doesn't look perfect, like, you're getting an email or a Facebook comment or whatever. And it's like, I don't think it's the same for men. I just don't. Like, they can go on air and look a little sloppy or look more casual and it's fine.
And for them, it's like, if they do look a little messy, most people think, oh, they've just worked really hard.
Right.
But not for girls. If we have a tousled hair. That's why, as a producer, because I'm in the back and watching you guys on camera, if there's a, like, especially girls, I always have to look out for girls because I know that there's bad people commenting that will pick out those things. And if somebody's hair is out of place, I'm like, let me just...
And I appreciate that. I know you've done that for me before, and I totally appreciate it because it's true. It's like, and you can do all this hard work, and it's like that one little thing can take away from all of it. It's like, I remember I used to, like, bust my butt and, like, try to turn a story and go out and do all this stuff, come back, barely get it together for the newscast, and then also be asked to anchor. And, like, the only feedback I would get would be like, well, your hair didn't look good. And it's like, but
are you kidding?
Do you realize, like, why my hair didn't look good? Like, my hair didn't look good because I did all this stuff and I got all this content and I busted my butt. And it's like, it doesn't matter because your hair didn't look good. Like, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's not just, like, viewers. Like, that's also, I think, just the way it is in the industry. And, like, yes, I understand. And some people don't. It is part of the entertainment industry. And I get that that is part of it. But to me, that shouldn't be the most important thing.
Yeah. I mean, and then there's people like criticizing journalists, because we are journalists, of not getting the story right or whatever, when especially local journalists, reporters, producers, whatever, are busting their asses, excuse my language, to get the story right and be put together so that you get the story straight and you're not affected by, like, my little hair that's, like, flying out of it.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot.
It's, I mean, what our journalists are asked to do these days is an insane amount.
What
like,
are they?
So, I mean, it varies from station to station. And, but, like, for example, typically at the very bare minimum, like, as a reporter, you come in that morning, most days you have no idea what your story is going to be. You have less than 8 hours to coordinate interviews, get all the details of the story, go shoot video that goes along with that story. Oh, by the way, make sure that you social media about that story throughout the day, then come back and write a story, make sure you get all your facts straight, double check if you have time. Then you have to sit down and edit the story and put it together. Oh, and do a smaller, shorter version for the earlier shows. You have to go on air in the earlier shows, go on air later, and write a story for the website. And it's like all of that within 5-6 hours. Like, it's an insane amount. And then, I get it. Like, people complain that you didn't go deep enough, you didn't dig deep enough, you didn't double check this stuff. And it's like these things fall through the cracks. And I'm not saying that that's okay, but I think like as a whole, the industry really needs to look at what are we asking people to do, and is that realistic, and does that live up to our journalistic standards? Like, I mean, in the past, you would have 4 people doing those jobs, so you could double check and look at things and double check video and all this other stuff. And then when I went to a different market, I was expected to do that twice within that same amount of time. So I was expected to come in, do 2 different stories on 2 totally different topics.
Yeah, me
Could
too.
be in totally different areas of the town, the state, whatever.
Yep.
And do that all by myself in the same amount of time.
Yeah. And you're driving yourself.
Yes. So like there's no working on it while you're driving. And the second you pick up your phone, if you're in a news vehicle, like the station is going to get called. So like it's not like you can try to text or call someone while you're driving back. Like there's no time saving measures that you can take. And it's just like, how do you expect these stories to be any good? Like, but that's, and you also have to look perfect.
Right.
So, but that's like, I'm getting off on a tangent now, but it's just, that's the expectations right now.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think a lot of people get burned out and don't last in this business.
Maybe if you're like top 10 market, which is like LA, New York, Chicago, Denver's not even in that top 10. Maybe you'll have more people on the same story and like fact check and everything. But if you go lower, there's like 200 something, 218 or something like that markets out there. Whatever, the 190 some cities that have news, it's exactly how we described it here.
Right. And then people accuse you of having agendas and this and that. It's like, I don't have time to have an agenda. I don't even have time to go to the bathroom in the day, let alone have time to have an agenda and try to like coordinate some conspiracy. Like,
Right.
So I get frustrated when I hear people talk about that, because it's just like, it's local people, it's your friends, it's your family, and like you said earlier, busting their ass. And for so little respect and appreciation. And like, I really think people, and pay. Yeah, it's true. And I really think people need to appreciate their local news people a little more.
Yeah. Snaps to that.
That's, and that's, former reporter, because I think reporters, especially MMJs, have it the hardest. Yeah. Without a doubt.
Yeah. Oh, man. Do you get dick pics?
I have, totally unsolicited, of course. Like,
because you're an anchor reporter?
I mean, probably. I mean, I think just any female gets them. I think if you're on social media and you try to be nice, like, you're gonna get a dick pic. Like, I try very hard. Like, I don't think that I'm like some super special person because I'm a news anchor, and I never want to come across that way. So like, if someone sends a message, like, I try to respond, like, and especially if it's a kind message, like, telling me good job or thanking our team for covering a story, like, I will do my best to respond, because I do appreciate those messages. But there's always a couple that it's like, the second you open that line of communication, they think, oh, here's a good time to send a dick pic. And let me just say, there's never a good time to send one.
Do you think guys get vagina pics?
No, because girls aren't stupid.
Or boob pics, actually. Actually, probably not.
Probably not unsolicited. No. I just don't like, it's such a strange thing to me.
Have you had a stalker before?
I wouldn't say like full on stalker, but there was definitely like a person on social media several years ago when I first started that just like would not stop messaging. And then when I would block them, which takes a lot for me to block someone, because again, I just feel bad. Yeah. I mean, I try to be nice, but probably sometimes I'm too nice for my own good.
Boundaries.
Yes, I've been working on those. But so I would block them, and then they'd like create a new account, and they found like my phone number somehow and would try to call and text. Like, obviously I wouldn't answer, but so yeah, I mean, that was kind of creepy, but like, I never got to the point where like I thought that they would be outside or something. I mean,
okay.
maybe I should have been thinking that way. I don't know. But it happens. I mean,
Yeah.
I know other women in the industry who've had that happen, and it's very
Like bad
scary.
stuff,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think it's, again, like, you know, when you're on TV, like you open yourself up to these people at home and they feel this connection with you. And sometimes they forget that while they may know a lot about you, like you know nothing about them,
Yeah.
and they're still a stranger to you, but they
Yes.
feel like you're
You're part of-
friends.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is, I mean, what we want them to feel, but I think sometimes it gets a little weird when you actually then take that into person, like face to face, real conversations.
Yeah. So in my very short time of being a reporter, I've actually had a stalker. And I think it's because I'm Asian.
Yeah.
And this guy, he would talk about all these like Asian things. Like he'd be like, oh, I watch all these K-pop groups and these J-pop groups and all this stuff. And I honestly think he had serious creepy vibes, unfortunately. And I don't know if there was like something mentally like disabled with him or
Right.
something. But the first time I was like, oh yeah, that's like, it was the first time I've ever like interacted with a viewer.
Yeah.
So I was like trying to be really nice. At one point, he was like, I have a flat screen TV for you.
Whoa.
And so he's like, oh yeah, I brought it. Can I come to your house and install it for you?
Oh my gosh.
And
I hope you said no.
I honestly did not have any backbone. And so I was like, oh, thank you. And then I would like kind of retreat a little back and like,
Yeah.
I would talk to my coworker and the salespeople that were there. And I'd be like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
My coworker would be like, just tell him that you're not allowed to accept gifts. And so I went up to him and be like, as a journalist, I can't accept this gift.
Right. So he didn't come to your house, right?
I hope not. Honestly, I don't know, because at that point we got security involved, and so they escorted him out.
Yeah.
And he was on their radar.
Smart.
So that was really nice, and I got reprimanded by the security guard.
That's scary though.
I feel like if you're a girl and on TV, you're often opening yourself up to this idea for guys that you're available, like you're.
Yeah, for some reason, guys have this idea that girls on TV are just there for them to look at.
Yeah.
And
we're not here to be objectified. Like
Right.
we're doing actual journalistic work.
yeah, it's like, so if you don't dress a certain way, or you gain some weight, or like, God forbid you get engaged, it's like they get mad at you almost, like.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not here like for you in that way. Like, I'm here to provide information and like do a show. Like, I'm not here just for you to objectify me. And it's like, and then if you are, if they do send you a message, like I've seen tons of examples of this, like not necessarily with myself, but with other women that like share this. It's like, okay, so if you try to be nice at the beginning, they take it the wrong way, and then they start sending you like inappropriate messages or pictures or whatever. And if you try to like put an end to it, then they turn around and call you like a bitch and say that you're like mean and
sensitive.
awful. And it's like, yeah, and it's like,
Jesus.
excuse me, like, what?
Hello?
Yeah.
We're human. Like we're like your sister.
Right. So it's hard to be nice sometimes, or to open up that line of communication with a viewer, because you're always putting yourself at risk for them to read way more into it than what it is.
Yeah.
And so it's hard. It's like, I want to be nice, but it's almost like almost every time that I've done that, it's ended badly. Like with them getting upset, or, you know, or I'm not answering enough. And it's like, I'm not here to like chit chat with you. Like, I'm trying to do a show, or, you know, like then they want to start asking you about all this other, like your personal life. And it's just like, no.
Yeah. And TV life is really stressful. It's like every second counts too.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
second,
I
especially
mean,
on air. But
I think at this point, I've just gotten kind of used to the stress. But yes, it is an extremely stressful job.
I can tell you were very used to it. Like when you come in, you're just like, When you type, I can like your typing sounds different than mine. Because my typing is like you're just like.
I mean, if you get easily stressed out, you just have to learn to control it. Because otherwise, the job will just it won't be good for your health.
I think though, like I am one of those people who I'm anxious and I have my own like anxiety problems. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm one of those anxious people who get really. I'm sure you've noticed, but like
I can tell.
Yeah, but I love it at the same time because like everything else, if I do anything else, it doesn't seem like I'm doing work. Like everything's so slow.
Yes,
and I don't know.
I left TV one time and went into like the other side. Like I was a public information officer, so like basically the person.
For the wildlife.
For Colorado Parks and Wildlife.
Yeah.
So it was a state agency, government-run job, and it's like the difference in pace was shocking. Like I was used to getting everything done that I needed to get done in a single day, and then you come in the next day and you start over. Like that's how it works in news. Like you never leave before your work is done. Yeah. And so when I first went there, like I would always be there, like past 5 o'clock, and they'd have to come and basically be like, go home. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I still have stuff. And they're like, you can do it tomorrow. And I'm like, what? Yeah. Like, that's so weird. And then like,
that's so weird.
I would get like a project and it would be like, okay, like I will have this done by tomorrow. And they're like, no, like we don't need it for 3 weeks. Yeah. And I'm like, what?
I'm going to forget about it if it's due in 3 weeks.
Yeah. Like I have to do this now and I need you to do it now. And they're like, no, we're busy with other stuff.
Isn't that the worst when you're like expecting somebody else to do it and then they don't do it?
So I think that's why I ended up back in news. I just missed the fast pace. Like, I mean, if you leave news, like everything will seem so slow. Yeah. Like, because you're just constantly on a deadline. Like the clock is always ticking in news. And I think the procrastinator and like adrenaline junkie in me loves that about it.
In college, I was such a procrastinator.
Yes. Yeah. It's like if I don't have a deadline, it's not getting done.
Yeah. Yeah. Hence my cleaning, actually, of my home. If I have someone over, I'll clean like real fast.
Yes.
And things are looking kind of nice and anyway. With all the stress, we were talking about this earlier, but competition among girls.
Yes.
In news.
So there's a lot that I love about the job and the industry, and there's a lot that I really hate and I'm really disappointed in. And like one of those things.
That's the worst word, by the way, disappointed.
It is. Like that's worse than being mad. Like disappointed. I let me put it this way. There's a lot about the job I love. There's a lot about the industry that I'm extremely disappointed in, if that makes sense. So like when I first got into TV news, like nobody can prepare you for what you're walking into. Like you can take all the classes in school and it's like nothing prepares you for the world that you are thrown into. Like, and the expectations and just all of it that comes with it. And so when I first started, like I was never like real big into hair and makeup. Like I grew up in a small town and like I enjoyed it, and it's not that I like didn't look nice, but I was not one of those girls that was like watching 5 hours of YouTube videos on like how to do my eyeshadow. Like
that's me.
That's totally fine. That is totally fine if that is you. But that was not, and still to this day is not me. Like I want to look good, but I just don't care that much.
Yeah.
Like
I'm getting there.
Yeah. And the older I get, the more I'm like that. So like when I first started, like there was all this emphasis on like how I looked. And we kind of talked about this earlier. Like that was more important than the actual content that I was gathering. Yeah. And that was really hard for me to wrap my head around. Like, because that to me wasn't what was important. What was important to me was getting the story right, getting the good video, like putting together like something that I was proud of. Like I didn't care about my hair, but it's like if you didn't get it right, and I mean your hair right, not the story, it's like all of that hard work was for nothing. So that was so hard. And not to mention, like, some people just have like really good TV hair and some people don't. I do not have good TV hair. Like,
I actually always look at your hair and it always looks really cute.
Oh,
Maybe you've got it down.
I was going to say, I feel like I've finally like figured out a solution, but part of that was like I stopped trying to make my hair look like someone else's, because like for the longest time, especially back in the day, like all women in TV had the same haircut. It was like that short anchor bob, like short hair, like cut to your chin, and like that's
Teased.
all. Yeah.
Yes.
And that was like all the only hairstyle you saw on TV. And like we've come so far, but even when I first started like 10 years ago, like the hair was longer, but it all still like looked the same, and it was like full body and like still teased, and like my hair's thin. Like there's nothing I can do to make it look like it's like Farrah Fawcett. Like it's just not gonna work. Like it's not physically possible. But like I would try everything. I would try curling it. I would try every single different tool. I can't tell you how many like hair tools I have bought over the years, like trying to get my hair to look a certain way, because
on
like
a reporter budget too.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like you get paid jack squat, and like you're asked to like do all these things. And like at one point I was considering hair extensions. Well, do you know how expensive hair extensions are? Like,
and Botox. And
yeah,
all this other
I
stuff
can't
too.
afford that. Like as a reporter, like so, and it was just so discouraging to me. And it was like nothing I did was ever good enough. And it's like I became almost like consumed with like trying to look like somebody else. You know, now I just let my flat hair be flat and straight, and like it is what it is. Like, and I think it looks best this way because that is how my hair is, you know. Like I'm not saying that I won't try like something here and there, and if you enjoy like spending a lot of time on your hair, or you like the extensions or whatever, like great, like whatever makes you happy. But if you're only doing it to try to please some random person or a boss with a specific idea, like all of that is so subjective, and it's like they might love it, that next person might hate it. Like just
That's
be
true.
you know, like and learn to accept who you are and how your body and hair and whatever is. Like, and it took a long time, because I went from being like pretty confident and, you know, pleased with my look to almost hating everything about me. And I because of the job and, you know, and the expectations that were put on me. And it's like that really hurt my self-esteem. It hurt my self-confidence, which then trickled over into other parts of my life and relationships with people I had. And so it took a long time and some just growing up, honestly, to get back to a point where it's like I'm okay with being me. But this industry is really hard on girls, especially. And, you know, having you think that you have to live up to certain expectations or look a certain way to advance or to get to a bigger market or whatever. And I do think that that is still true in some ways, but I also think that within, I'd say like the last 5 years, the industry has gotten better about letting people be who they are, at least appearance wise. Like, I mean,
now there's natural hair people.
I was going to say, like, Black women are
Black
now
women.
being able to wear their hair naturally. Like, that was unheard of, you know, even just 5-6 years ago. And it's like, why? Like, people want to see people on TV that look like them. And, like, not everyone is a, you know, 5'7", 100-pound blonde. Like, that's not, and if you are, great.
Cool, yeah.
But, like,
Let's
that's
accept
not
everything.
what everyone looks like.
Yeah.
And so, for me, like, I think I've really grown in the last couple of years, like, just accepting who I am. Like, but, so, like, it's probably been, like, a year now, but I got an email. It was actually sent to the entire station saying that I was becoming obese and that I needed to, like, basically get myself in check because they've been watching every morning, and I am like, no, not just obese, morbidly obese, I think it was. Like,
what?
I gained some weight when I switched over to the morning show because holy cow, you want to talk about changes on your body, like, and stress and lack of sleep, like
weird hours.
Like, yes, that has an impact. And like, I was eating,
you do it.
I was eating like crap and stuff, but like, I was still like working out and I was healthy. And like, I had just finished running a half marathon like the week before.
Wow.
And like, but I didn't look like how they thought I should look. I was a size 8. Like, I was not morbidly obese. Like, what? And so, you know, we used to have this segment, we called it Kudos and No-Nos, where we like would respond to viewers' comments. So we put that out there and I responded and I just said, like, it's none of your business, first of all, how much I weigh. Second of all, like, I'm not unhealthy. Like, I just ran a half marathon. Like, do I want to lose some weight? Sure. Most women and probably guys do. But again, I'm not here for you to look at. Like, I'm here for you to give you news. Like, and so that to me was a big turning point.
Go to OnlyFans if you want that.
Right. And I was just like, but I could tell that I had grown because had I gotten that email 7-8 years ago, it would have destroyed me. Like, and for you to last in this business, you're going to have to get thick skin really fast because people say horrible things to you. And it's like, F you. Like, I don't care what you say. Like, I'm not here for you. Like, you know, if I want to lose weight, I'll lose weight. I'm not doing it for you.
Yeah.
Like, and it was actually really sweet because the next day after we did that segment where we responded, a lady told me that she had sat her daughter down and they had watched the segment, and her daughter said that like I was pretty or something, and her mom was like explaining to her about how it doesn't matter if I'm pretty or not, it's about what's on the inside, and like being a pretty person inside is like, and that's what I want people to like. And so for me, like, say whatever you want to me. Like, if I can get something good out of it like that, like, it's totally worth it. Oh, I think this is like backtracking a little bit. Yeah. But I think the wake up call for me, like we kind of talked about how like I wasn't really super into hair and makeup. And I went home one time to visit my family, and my dad like randomly made some comment. I think I was like checking my hair in like the car mirror while we were driving somewhere. And he said to me, like, you've really become concerned with how you look ever since you got into TV. And like, to me, that was like so shocking. And it was such like a wake up call. I was like, oh, I mean, I want to look nice, but I don't want to be that person that like, that's all I care about. Like, I don't know.
I know, because like you're very passionate about the journalistic side of things. And so I know you want to produce like the best work.
But like for me, it's always about the story. Like, if you want to give me a compliment, tell me you liked my story. Don't be like, oh, I liked your outfit or I liked your hair. Like, those are nice things. But like, to me, it's the content that's important. And like, that's what I want people to notice, not me.
So when you were going through the fight in yourself to like get away from seeing how you look, you said you were just now kind of getting into like accepting yourself on camera and everything.
Yeah.
What was the biggest barrier that you've had to overcome during that time?
I think that's hard because I mean there's a lot. I mean I think that's an issue for a lot of women, is just learning to accept yourself. And like, that doesn't mean that you don't want to improve certain areas or that you don't want to get better at things or change things, but just like appreciating yourself for who you are and how you are. Like, I think for me, like, even now, like, I always want to keep learning. I always want to keep improving. Like, and which is I think that's a good quality, but like, I also want to be like the best at everything. Like, I want to be, you know, eventually you have to realize like that's not possible. Like, you can't be the funniest, the smartest, the, you know, the nicest. Like, there's going to be people who do certain things better than you. And, like, that's okay. Like, and you can have shortcomings, and that's okay. And, like, people are still going to love and appreciate. And it's, like, focus on the areas that are important to you or that you do excel in.
If you could give advice to a girl who is kind of stepping into the same footsteps as you, what would you tell that young journalist now?
I would tell them that give yourself grace. Don't expect yourself to be perfect all the time. Like, you're doing a very hard job, and people have crazy expectations of you. And when you start to doubt yourself, like, that's when you need to take a step back and remind yourself that you are badass. You are doing things that you probably thought you could never do. You're doing an incredibly important job. And, like, don't forget that. And don't forget who you are and, like, what's important to you. And, like, it's so easy to get wrapped up in this crazy business. And, I mean, we talked earlier about how, like, there's parts of it that I really don't like. And one of those parts is, like, it can be very cutthroat and catty, and girls especially can be very mean to each other. And it's like, don't get caught up in that negativity and that part of it. Like, support each other and believe in yourself, and and I mean, and just, like, keep your head down and keep pushing, because if you can survive in this business, like, the doors that open are great. The earning potential is you know, is amazing. I mean, like, you look at the people in Today Show and whatever, like, they're making millions of dollars. Like, the earning potential is insane. But and I'm not saying that everyone's going to make that much money, obviously. No. But, like, if you can survive and last through the business, like, you can make a decent living. And it is a fun job and a unique job. Like, where else do you get to, like, tell stories and, like, get access to people and places that like, nobody else gets? Like,
that was the coolest thing for me as a journalist, young journalist. I'm still young, but was suddenly being out of college, being self-doubting myself, and thinking so low of me, and then suddenly, like, interviewing the governor of the state, or,
like, do you know how many people would, like, kill for, like, 2 minutes with the governor? And it's like, you get to call them all the time. Like, and I mean, that's, like, with any city leaders or athletes, like, sports athletes, like, and you get to go behind the scenes and see buildings and places that, like, I never would have gone to.
Restricted areas.
And so there's some really awesome things about the job, and it's like, you have to remind yourself of that. Otherwise, like, you can get caught up in the, I'm working another 10-hour day and I'm doing this and that. And, like, it's real easy to get burnt out and down on it. So it's like, you have to remind yourself, like, but I get to do really cool things.
That's awesome. I love that.
I'm trying to think.
Like I'm like taking in your advice.
No, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I would love. And the only thing I don't like about the morning shift is, like, I don't really get to work with the reporters that much, because like, they're all on the opposite shift. But I would love to mentor, like, younger reporters, and just, you know, because I've lived it. I went through it. Like, I get it. I totally get it. Like, and I get, like, how you feel and how you, like, but it's like, you can get through it. You can totally get through it. And I hate seeing people walk away from the job with regret. Like, there's people that are going to leave the job, and it's not for everyone. And you can leave and find something that's way better and amazing. And I love when people leave and are happy, but I hate seeing people who leave and regret it, because it's like, you didn't leave for the right reasons then.
Yeah, that's true. My motto is, I know this is so cliche, but no, don't, like, at the end of my life, I don't want to regret any decision. And so, especially because I love this industry so much, I want to stay in it for a while at least. But actually, on that note, if you were at the end of your life, what would you say do you want out of life?
Oh, that's deep, Cheryl.
What do you want to be known for since you're in TV, I guess, and journalism?
I think what I want to be known for in TV and journalism is being kind, being open to stories,
Check.
and being real. Like, I want people to know that what they saw on TV is what they would get in real life. Like, if they met me, like, I'm not putting on an act on TV. To me, it's too exhausting to be somebody that you're not.
Yeah.
And especially with the 4-hour show, like, oh my God, I can't do that.
That's
like,
true.
I'm tired.
Your mouth already hurts from a day's worth of
like,
news.
I'm not trying to, like, be somebody who I'm not. Like, and I'm not saying that I don't get things wrong or make mistakes, but that's also part of being real, is, like, owning up to those things when you make them.
So, what are your current barriers that you're facing right now?
I think my current barriers, and this is something I'm continuing to work on, is, like, accepting where I am and being happy with it. Like, I was so used to, like starting as an intern and working up to where I am now. Like, I was so used to, like, constantly striving for the next step and, like, busting my butt to get to what's next, like, next promotion, next role, next whatever. And it's like, my goal was always to get to anchor. And it's like, okay, I reached that, and that's where I want to be. But I'm so stuck in this pattern of driving for more and, like, trying to improve. And I'm not saying that I can't improve where I am. Obviously I can, but it's like, there's not another role for me to move to. Like, I don't want to go to a bigger market. Like, I love where I am.
Okay.
But I think there's this voice in the back of my head that's like, well, you have to go to a bigger market. Like, you need to keep advancing. And it's like, but I don't. Like, if that's not what's going to make me happy, why am I doing that? Like, just to prove to somebody else that, like, I'm good enough to go to a bigger market? Like, I don't need to do that. Like, if I go to a bigger market, I'm going to be back at the bottom of the totem pole. Like, work the worst hours. Like, work every holiday.
That's another crazy thing about this industry.
Yeah, like, not to mention the fact that, like,
you have to start over in a new
I have to start over, have to learn everything again. And it's like, I've been there, done that. And at my age, I don't really want to do it again. Like, and so it's just teaching myself to be content and, like, enjoy what I've worked for. Like, I've worked for this moment. Like, enjoy it. Like, stop trying to, like,
Abbie.
Yeah, I know. Like, stop trying to keep moving. Like, enjoy the space that you're in. Like, and I think looking back, like, sometimes I was so worried about what was next, or I was caught up in the negativity that, like, I didn't enjoy where I was. And it's like, wherever you are now, like, no matter where you are now, you're not going to be there forever. Like, you are not going to be here in this apartment forever. Like, so enjoy it. Like, live it, love it, like, know like, know that this is a temporary space. And, like, looking back, like, in 10 years, you're gonna be like, man, I wish I would have enjoyed that time more.
I even think that, like, for what I've lived before too.
Yeah, like,
when I look back on my own life,
right? I mean, you're always like, oh man, like, I should have, like,
true.
Like, college was so fun, like, why didn't I appreciate it? But at the time in college, you're, like, stressing out about your midterms that, like, hello, don't matter. like I can tell you at this age, like, do not matter at all. So it's like, just enjoy where you are and be okay with it. That doesn't mean that you can't, again, like, have goals or reach for something, but don't forget to enjoy now. Like, be present. So I think that's my barrier, is just trying to, like, come to terms with, like, accepting the space that I'm in.
Well, Miss Abbie Burke,
yes,
it's been a pleasure having you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Of course.
Where can people find you?
So people can find me Fox 21 Morning News, Monday through Friday, 5 to 9 a.m. Mountain Time. Also on Instagram, Abbie Burke 21, Facebook. I've got all the social stuff that they make you have.
Yeah. And if other journalists have questions.
Oh my gosh, I would love to talk to other journalists, especially young women who are struggling in the business, or even if you're not, like, please reach out. I'm happy to chat, to listen, to mentor, like, so happy to do that.
Yay. I will too, even though I work literally right next to you.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Please do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the Babes Over Barriers podcast. If you enjoyed our chat, make sure to go subscribe, rate, and review the pod. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you have thoughts on anything we talked about, feel free to drop me a DM or a comment on our Instagram @BabesOverBarriers. See you next episode.